What is up, ladles and gentlespoons? Guitarbard here, and today we're talking about Neverwinter Nights. Yes, again, but it's for a special occasion this time because this weekend, Neverwinter Nights turns 20. So back in the early 2000s, GameSpot had downloadable demos for new and upcoming games. So if you're willing to wait a few hours while your internet decided to go byte by byte by byte and get it on your computer, you could play the first level of all the new games and decide whether or not you wanted to buy it. One of those demos that I played was Neverwinter Nights. I played that intro so many times, it's a miracle I don't have it memorized. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get my hands on a copy until a few years later. Something I'm clearly compensating for as an adult, because I have the Collector's Edition, the Diamond Edition, the Platinum Edition, the Enhanced Edition, and the game guides, and the posters, and the... I may have a problem. Long story short, I became obsessed. It's even how I got the name Guitarbard. I was signing up for the Neverwinter Nights forums, couldn't decide what to pick, and I had just started learning guitar at the time. What's a class that plays an instrument? A bard. And there we have it. I embroidered it myself. Isn't it pretty? I don't have a t-shirt yet, but I have fabric markers and a dream, and that's just as good. Most importantly, Neverwinter Nights is the game that got me into tabletop D&D. I started playing in college, branched out to local game stores, and now I'm part of a group that's more like a family. We all play together, we all laugh together, and I've formed lifelong friendships around the table. Telling stories, going on adventures, playing crazy characters doing crazy things, yelling at polyhedrals for coming up the wrong numbers. It's just something that I've bonded with so many people over and have so many good memories associated with. And Neverwinter Nights was the beginning. So let's back up to the midway point. 2012, around about the 10th anniversary of Neverwinter Nights. GOG, or Good Old Games, hosts a video contest where entrants have to put together a video talking about their favorite game available on the website and why it's their favorite. This was long before I even had a concept of streaming, or even doing video editing at all. I had Windows Movie Maker that I messed around with videos that I took of my friends, but clipping video games and then putting them together, putting the scenes together into a video, completely outside my realm of expertise. But I wanted to talk about Neverwinter Nights, and it was something I wanted to learn. So I put together my very, very, very first video game, story, thing. Somehow, it got a runner-up nomination, even though it was a bunch of really badly done clips and kind of bad quality put together in a really bad voiceover, but it was my tribute to Neverwinter Nights. And that was the starting point to where I am today, streaming, creating, sometimes getting it right, mostly getting it wrong, but having a lot of fun doing it. So, in honor of the 20th anniversary of Neverwinter Nights, I'm going to be watching back my very first video, reflecting on how I did then, maybe comparing to what I did now, and probably cringing. A lot.
Neverwinter Nights is my favorite good old game ever.
I scripted this. I swear on everything holy that I scripted this. And that still happened. But in my defense, it was probably take like 20 at that point. Because I'd never done this before. I mean, I'd done public speaking classes, but never done anything like this. Like voiceover, whatever. So, awkward, yeah.
It's my second or third dungeon crawl. And I remember when the demo came out, I just could not stop playing. I'd like 20 different characters of different classes and different races, and I just played through so many times that I memorized the dialogue, memorized where I could find every piece of loot, and when I finally got the game, you couldn't pull me off my computer. I was absolutely hooked.
You still can't pull me off my computer, just for the record.
My first real hero was Vivian Vika, and she's just stuck with me years later just because I put so much work into her.
So you can actually see me play Vivian Vika, or a version of her, in my Darkness Over Daggerford playthrough. In fact, for last year, on the 19th anniversary of Neverwinter Nights, when they uploaded the texture pack, you can see me absolutely losing my mind over how real Jivian looks and how much better and crisper and clearer, and it's... yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's her fully realized. Oh my goodness. Guys, I'm actually really super emotional about this right now.
Jivian is also a character that I then later brought to the tabletop for both 3.5, 4th Ed, and 5th Ed.
Centered through the main campaign and both full-length expansions more than once. I think our highest level was 39.
I couldn't get her to that last level. Come on, past me. Get with it.
And I still play her when I'm doing tabletop D&D with my friends, and she's just as amazing there as she is in the game.
I mean, she's only as amazing as the whim of the dice. You know, you can have a really strong build and a really great character and still roll a natural 1. You know, I brought her through a full-length 4th Ed campaign, and literally on the very last session in the final boss fight, dead. The dice were not with me that day.
My favorite expansion is definitely Hordes of the Underdark. I just think it's hilarious that you wake up naked to find a drow has stolen all of your stuff. It starts out with an attack on the inn where you're staying at, and a beholder knocks out you and a few of your companions. But those who have remained standing decide that it would be a great idea to go into Undermountain by themselves. So, of course...
Which is like what happens at every single table, every single time. Oh, there's something stupid we can do? Onward!
You have to go rescue them. Undermountain is just amazing. Like, here you've got the Hall of the Sleeping Kings, once they're all dead. You've got the Hall of Mirrors, where each mirror has stuff that you can loot, but one of them also holds your evil twin. Pretty sure it's that one, but one time when I played, it was this one over here, but I think I know which one's safe. Wrong mirror. Definitely the wrong mirror.
Okay, so I remember that distinctly as being like my first attempt to do like a comedic, semi-natural reaction, and it was so awkward to me. Like, every time I tried to do something funny, to try to pitch my voice, it just felt weird. Probably because I was young and still had a sense of shame and embarrassment and all that sort of thing that you eventually give up by the time you hit 30. So yeah, now those reactions at least seem a little more natural than whatever the heck that was. I think. They do, right? Be real with me. Anyway.
I love that you have extra quick bars when you press Control and Shift, so you get 36 total. For those who are new to D&D, like I was when I first played the game, this was my first introduction to it, you can look at the system of how it's played and look at the dice rolls and where you did damage, why you did damage, why you rolled critical hits.
Why I rolled critical hits? I roll a 20 if I roll a critical hit, unless I have a weapon with a crit range of 19 to 20, possibly 18 to 20 depending on your feats. Come on, past me, you've been playing D&D for a good while at this point. I swear this was scripted and it's still... Well, the fact that it was scripted and then went off the rails is actually peak D&D, because no matter how elaborate and well thought out your plan is, it's not going to survive past round 1 of combat.
And just so you get a hang of the way it works. So here's a trick for new time players. Those chests if you can't unlock them, they can't be broken. So what you do is you enter debug mode 1, then you hold your cursor over it and press Y, and ta-da! And then you just go into debug mode 0.
So normally I'm very anti-game cheat, but I found it really freaking unfair that those chests were unbreakable if you weren't a thief. So I may have, like, forgone my moral high ground just those times. Actually, for that matter, there were a lot of cheats I used just because, as much as I loved this game, I was terrible. I was terrible. Probably because I couldn't build a well-rounded character for... Yeah, but, you know, sometimes I just wanted to progress the story, you know? I just wanted to find out what happened next.
The music of the game is incredible. You know, I've put the main theme in the background here. There's also, this is the Rebel Camp from Hordes of the Underdark.
Okay. The Rebel Camp was Lith Myathar, a Drow Followers of Illustri camp, just so we can get real freaking clear there. And this I made this back when, and you might even still be able to do this in the Neverwinter Nights games, the original ones. You could just go into the game files and yoink the music out of it.
And then you've got this music in Hordes of the Underdark for creatures 10 times your size. My only regret is that the expansions like Witch's Wake and Shadowguard were never really finished.
I say regret. That's not what I meant, because clearly I can't regret something I had no part in. My one disappointment, actually no, disappointment is too mild. I'm still mad about Witch's Wake. Okay? I want to know what happens in the next... There were supposed to be 5 chapters and we got 1. I want to know what happens next, and I am still mad about it! 10 years later. Anyway.
Especially Witch's Wake, because I was so interested in where that plot was going to go, but really, I've actually learned a lot from Neverwinter Nights. For example, Fifth Ustan is something very rude in Drow.
It means F me. There was a Drow translator online. It was like, House Mavir? House something Drow translator. And it had like a dictionary of the Drow words. And actually in the 2nd edition book, Drow of the Underdark, it has a glossary. And it does include some colorful phrases, shall we say.
You must never, ever trust a talking sword.
Okay, so I heavily modified the beginning of Hordes of the Underdark, and I was actually hoping to eventually convert it to like a 5th ed tabletop campaign, and I actually got a decent way in. I got through Undermountain level 1 or so, and the funniest scene at the table was here in the Hall of the Sleeping Kings. Because, you know, I did play the talking sword to the best of my ability. And so one of my table mates is like, I'm going to take the sword. You sure? Yeah, I'm going to take the sword. Are you really sure? Wait, no. As one, the Sleeping Kings awaken and all look in your direction. Everybody roll initiative. They survived, but it was funny.
And if you're sufficiently prepared, you can accomplish pretty much anything.
That was my attempt at doing like something uplifting, inspirational-ish at the end of it. that still, like, gelled with the game. I think that was, like, probably one of the only parts of the video that worked, especially because when I say prepared, if you look at the top bar where all the little green icons are, that's all the different buffs and potions and all that stuff that I probably guzzled down potion-wise, casting-wise, and everything so that I could fight this dragon without getting steamrolled. Yeah, those breath attacks are brutal. I really could have shortened this, but okay. I didn't even kill it. Dayland killed it. The barbarian with the double... Whatever. And then that was the one requirement, is that you had to have this ending screen, which, in retrospect, years later, this contest was just one big giant advertisement for GOG.com. Thankfully, however, unlike other advertising gigs cleverly disguised as a contest, I at least got to keep the... not copyrights. There's a word for it. I'll probably figure it out after I finish editing this video. Intellectual property. There it is. Yes, go brain. So to keep within the ending on an uplifting, inspirational theme or whatever, we all gotta start somewhere. I mean, that was very clearly amateur video editing stuff. Although, in my defense, video editing software like OBS Studio was very much not available at the time. I mean, if you wanted free software, you had Windows Media Maker. And Windows Media Maker. And that's it. So, just like every character that I put through the ringer in Neverwinter Nights, I guess I just leveled up over time, went from a level 1, what the heck am I even doing, video creator person, to someone who's a little more comfortable around the camera. I'm just really thankful that we have companies like Beamdog that, create these enhanced editions, that take the old games, polish them up a little, re-release them into the world for us to re-enjoy, rediscover, and for an entire new generation of PC gamers to discover and enjoy themselves, whether they started with tabletop D&D or whether they've never played D&D before in their lives. So happy birthday, Neverwinter Nights. Thanks for 20 years of great memories, and here's to another 20 of many more. So this is going to be the next one, right? You're going to do this one next, Beamdog? Please.